Hello, everybody, it's Tim here again, here to another movie review, this time for Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Giver, which I'm really not sure why it's called Scar Giver. I mean, you kind of get an idea in the movie why it's called Scar Giver, but at the same time, it's not really that much of an earned title. So this pretty much picks up after the ending of the first one. You got Ed Skrein back with his shitty haircut as the villain again. Um, you got the entire cast back from the last movie. It's pretty. I still like the cast that's in this movie. It's good to have them back. And you hear a dog barking in the background. I have neighbors all around here, and yes, I'm doing this review outside, just like I do all my reviews pretty much lately. But yeah, you got Sophia Botello back as the lead here. She still does a good job. You got the dude back who's playing like her love interest slash boyfriend. He's okay. The chemistry between the two is okay. It's mostly carried by Sophia Botello, and she does a good job here. I think she's fine. She doesn't have like lead actor charisma, but overall, I think she's fine in the role that she's supposed to be. Both these Rebel Moon movies got like real bad reviews by critics, and even like most reviews on YouTube are pretty negative for them. I have to say, overall, I didn't mind the first Rebel Moon. I didn't love it, but overall, I did like it. It was mostly a build-up film that suffered from that fact, and that this film suffers from that as well. In the fact that really these two should have just been one movie, just combined together, and they could easily be edited into just one movie. Most of this film is just the characters like sitting on the farming planet, like talking or whatever about Ed Skrein showing up with his army and militia or whatever to like take them all out, and them getting prepared to fight him. It's just them farming in slow motion for some of it. That's pretty much most of the first half, and it is kind of boring. And I was thinking, this kind of sucks for most of that. When it got to the second half, though, it just becomes like an all-out war movie for the entire second half of the movie, like an all-out battle, and that's when the movie picked up for me. And it was actually fun. And even though Snyder does still use the slow motion in these points, it's not, it does work in certain moments, like in the action scenes, and it is pretty cool seeing it in the action scenes. Um, Anthony Hopkins' robot character is underused, but when he actually does have a battle moment here, it's a pretty cool battle moment. Uh, the action overall, like the main final fight between Ed Skrein or whatever and Sophia Botello's character is honestly pretty good. It's a lightsaber fight, and for the fight that it is, they're like falling down their ship or whatever, and it's exploding, and they're sliding down and catching the lightsabers that they're fighting with, and they're like swinging around different directions and everything. And Snyder does a good job in terms of the action, and overall, it's actually a better lightsaber fight than anything in the sequel movies by Disney. Uh, and I think that's one of the differences between me and like critics and stuff like that when it comes to this movie. And I do consider myself a critic because I do look at movies in a critical eye, regardless of who the director is. Like overall, in terms of Snyder, I'm a Snyder fan. I like Snyder. I don't love Snyder. I don't think Snyder is a flawless director. I think Snyder is a good to like average director, or like an average to good director in my opinion. I think he's only like an okay writer, but I think he is a average to good director. But I don't think he's great. I think his best stuff is usually when he's adapting like other people's material, like Watchmen and stuff. Though my favorite film of his is still easily the Snyder Cut. I really enjoy the Snyder Cut. Batman vs Superman I used to really like, but that film has just went really downhill now for me. Honestly, I don't hate the film, but overall watching it again, after years, it's like this film is not really that great. Watching it in the director's cut version, the extended cut version, I still don't hate it, but it's more like just meh. It's like okay time waster, even though it's overlong and overstuffed. I actually like Suicide Squad better because Suicide Squad, despite its flaws, is just kind of a safe cotton candy popcorn flick that's really not meant to have any meat to the bone, at least in terms of theatrical release. Batman vs Superman was really trying to be something epic, and that's the reason that film is not as good to me. Man of Steel, I actually like. I really like Man of Steel. My appreciation for that film has increased. My appreciation for Man of Steel has increased, and my appreciation for Batman vs Superman has decreased. I still love Ben Affleck's Batman, though. Still easily my favorite Batman. But yeah, back to Rebel Moon. The first Rebel Moon I liked. I gave it a 3 out of 4. I thought it was a good, fine, average sci-fi action flick. These movies are pretty much like somebody took elements of Dune and Star Wars and tried to combine it together. I know critics like hate these movies because of that, because they pull from other stuff and don't do anything new or original with it. And that's true. There's nothing new or original in these Rebel Moon movies. Zack Snyder does nothing new with the material here. He pretty much is like a fanboy when it comes to like the genres of films and stuff that he works on. You can tell he's a sci-fi fanboy. So he's just like, take a little bit of Dune, I love Dune, take a little bit of Star Wars, love Star Wars, combine it together. I'm just doing my own thing with the same material that's been done 1,000 times before. And that's what this is. There is absolutely nothing new whatsoever in either one of these Rebel Moon movies. But for me personally, I'm okay with that. I don't need somebody to reinvent the wheel, and I don't expect Snyder to reinvent the wheel. Once again, I'm a Snyder fan. And when I say I'm a fan, I'm trying to, I mean, I'm a logical fan. I'm not one of those people on Twitter who's like, Snyder is a god, he's untouchable or whatever. No, that's ridiculous. Snyder has obvious flaws in his filmmaking. But like I said, though, I am a fan because I've enjoyed almost all of his films except Sucker Punch. Even this one, I'll say, while it's on the lesser end for me, I don't hate this movie. I did overall like it as a whole for the second half with all the action and stuff, and I enjoyed the fights. But for me, I'm a Snyder fan. Like I said, I think he's an average to good director. I just don't think he's great. And I know what I'm getting in terms of a Snyder movie when I go into it. I'm not expecting Christopher Nolan level filmmaking here, okay? Snyder's not going to reinvent the wheel for me. And as it comes to Star Wars, like I like the original trilogy. After that, I like Revenge of the Sith. I didn't mind Rogue One. Everything else is just like in terms of like movies. And the sequels, Last Jedi and fucking Rise of Skywalker are awful. So it's, I don't. I'm not a hardcore Star Wars fan in terms of like to the point to where if somebody wants to like rip it off or whatever, I'm gonna be like, well, you're not doing anything original and new with the material. Like I don't care. I'm not that into Star Wars. So it's whatever. So the fact that he's not doing anything super new with the material, that doesn't really bother me. Just make it entertaining. And when it comes to the action and stuff like that, I think these Rebel Moon movies have good action. It's not great action, except for this like final fight at the end of the second one when they're like falling down the ship and stuff with the lightsabers flying everywhere. That was legitimately great action, but it is good action. Overall, this movie is too long, and it just really doesn't justify like having two movies for the simple story of just like these evil dictator guys wanting grain. It just doesn't justify it. There's no reason for this to be two movies. This could easily just be one flick, and it would play much better and much stronger. Um, it ends with a setup for Rebel Moon 3. Sophia Batello's love interest gets killed, which they have like okay chemistry, and most of it I get from her. She's a better actor than he is, even though I don't think the guy was terrible. Um, I do appreciate the fact that Snyder went more dramatic by having him die at the end. I did appreciate that. Um, they set up for the end for them to like go find the princess or whatever who's miraculously still alive because she's just magical for no reason. That's kind of fantastical type magical fairy tale type stuff with the magic princess or whatever in these movies. I don't really like. I'd prefer these movies to be just like more hardcore. And I will say this: I know Snyder's talked about like having like director's cuts of these, and it is going to happen. It's supposed to come out sometime, I believe, in the summer, where we're going to get like much longer director's cuts versions of these movies with much more violence. I will say this: I do think it would have helped these movies, or at least this one, to be rated R because at the end or whatever with the violent scenes and all that, when Sophie Batello's like taking people out left and right in action scenes, which are pretty much well done, you can feel that there should be like blood flying up and everything because of the tone they're going for. And I'm sorry about my dog barking in the background there. He seen a squirrel or something in the woods. But yeah, you can feel that there should be like blood and stuff like flying up and everything. So you can feel them being held back by the PG-13 rating. But overall, I like Sophia Botello in these movies well enough. She does good enough. Overall, this is a 2.5 out of 4 for me for the action and entertainment value of the action in the second half, which is pretty much the whole rest of the movie. The first one I'd give a 3 out of 4. I thought it was a good average sci-fi popcorn flick, whatever, which is it was mostly just build up, granted, but I was entertained by the actors. I thought they were fine. This one, 2.5 out of 4. A decent time killer action space flick. Um, Completely watchable in my opinion. Critics are like really hating these movies. I think people are being too harsh on these flicks, in my honest opinion. At the same time, I can see why a critic wouldn't like these or someone wouldn't like them because, like I said, there's absolutely nothing new here. There is nothing new. But in terms of what they of doing the same thing, I don't think they do it badly. Like I'm a big slasher movie fan, and most slasher movies are the same shit over and over, but you just make it entertaining. Same thing here. There's nothing new here. There's no reinvention of the wheel. Snyder doesn't even attempt to try to really even add anything new to this genre. Um, and I'm fine with that. If he just wants to do the same shit, fine. Just give me entertaining action, and when the action hits, it's entertaining. Overall, like I said, 2.5 out of 4. Decent time killer movie. I liked it. I'd say it's my second least favorite Snyder movie, though. Well, no, I'd actually say it's my third. I like this better than Batman vs Superman. Um, and I like this better than Sucker Punch, which is his worst. This is just decent to me. This is decent. Overall, I liked it. Didn't love it. I liked it as a time killer. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again. Oh, before I go, I will say this. I enjoyed Army of the Dead more than both of these Rebel Moon movies, and I would rather see another Army of the Dead before another Rebel Moon. I wouldn't mind another Rebel Moon. I'm not against it, but if I had to pick, I'd rather see another Army of the Dead first, at least. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.